just a beautiful, rainy, shitty Wednesday. Loading beans to go to Canada. Yeah, that's why I didn't uncover that all the way. It's actually slowed down a lot compared to what it was before he got here. Soil and water guy texted me. He said, hey, I got 20 hours on doing your stuff and it's getting pretty wet. I said, if you got most of it, let's call it, because yeah, that's getting kind of shitty. We went from a beautiful dry fall to the last couple, 2-3 weeks here, not so beautiful. Last 2 weeks at least. So, but this is one of my 2 loads for December. I guess they're gonna come and get the other one tomorrow. Then I'll have my beans. Well, I'll have what is contracted sold or picked up. I did do another price order contract a little while ago, which means the market's got to hit a certain price to trigger it so that I sell them. So we'll see what happens. All right, done loading the load of beans. Now I'm going to finish this video with something a little different. All right, my number one hater, good old William Hicken, you know, Willie, good old Willie. He, you know, can't stand me or my videos, but he loves to watch them and leave bullshit douchebag comments on all of them. So usually lately I've just been removing them. Sometimes I pin them and let you all, you know, jump on board if you'd like. But he left one 3 or 4 videos ago, which had nothing to do with the video whatsoever. Just completely asinine. Typical Willie. Can't wait to see what you leave here, Willie. Where he said, and I removed it, which is why I'm doing this video now. He said, weren't you removed from a council board for making racist statements? All right. So those of you who have been with me for quite a while, I've addressed this in the past. For those of you that are new, I'm going to address it again right now. So I wrote 2 letters to our local rag, letters to the editor, and some, I'm taking it by the writing, it looks female, or a very female acting male, who obviously is a teacher, because he sent me my own letters back. And if you want anyone to take you seriously, you should pay more attention to your grammar and punctuation. Your recent letter to the citizen had so many errors, 9 missing comments, 3 run-on sentences, slang or unacceptable use in a formal setting, whatever, big of, whatever, singular to sing, plural to, I'm assuming plural, elected, I mean, just stupid shit. And then I held back on emailing the first one, or on mailing the first one, but really, Mr. Dennison, please review basic English grammar before embarrassing yourself any further. Missing commas, incredible run-on sentences, and poor grammar. Oh, and they put down here, any student submitting a writing like this would have received an F from me. So obviously a teacher, male or female, that didn't have balls enough to sign their letter or put a return address on their envelope. So I hope you're watching, whoever you are, because I know the left in this county watches me like a hawk. So, because, bye-bye, you don't never need to, that's never need. You don't ever need to speak again, because you ain't got balls enough to put your name behind what you penned. I did. So, been on my county legislature for 7 years now. Next year, 2023, will be my 8th year, my last year of my second 4-year term. 99.9% sure I'm not going to be running for my 3rd 4-year term, because we're allowed 3. That's our term limits. Because I'm just sick of the bullshit. But I'm going to read my letters to the editor to you so that you can tell me how racist I am. So, whoops, that's the second one. Got to read the first one first. The headline, or the title was, Protests Have Been Anything But Peaceful. And this is very small writing because she clipped it out. Still saying she, because I'm figuring it's a she. So, kind of tough for my eyes to read, but bear with me. I'm sure after this letter I'll be called a racist, but that's fine because I know I'm not. Wake up, people, if you think the so-called peaceful protests are just that, because they're not. Oh, and I want to stop for just a second and look at all the little corrections that the teacher had to put all through both of them. Oh yeah, had to put their little corrections. Yep, but didn't have balls enough to put their name on it. Anyways, where was I? And just because peaceful protests are just that, because they're not. Okay. Do black lives really matter when young black children are being killed by other black people who are supposedly peaceful protesting police brutality? Father's Day weekend, 100 shootings in Chicago, black on black shootings that left some children dead. But hey, where's Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson for that? Oh, that's right. They only think black lives matter when a black person is shot by a white cop. Look it up, folks. In 2019, 9 unarmed black people were shot and killed by on-duty cops. 19 unarmed white people were shot and killed by on-duty cops. And 50 cops were killed that year. How many protests were there for those 50 cops that were killed? Yeah, none. Is burning buildings and looting and tearing down statues really a Black Lives Matter peaceful protest? Most of these idiots don't even know anything about the statues that they're tearing down. And should we try and erase the past or learn from it? If you really think doing away with law enforcement across this country, because you remember back then, defund the police, still trying to in places. If you really think doing away with law enforcement across this country is a good idea, then you're just as big of an idiot as the majority of these so-called peaceful protesters. Is there racism in this country? Yes. And unfortunately, there probably always will be. But it's a two-way street. And none of us were here 200 or 300 years ago, and we can't change the past, but we can learn from it. But not if people try to erase it. Where's our elected officials at all levels? Are they just going to stand by and watch our country be destroyed? Oh, that's right. There's nothing like a good protest or pandemic to show the true colors of politics. Again, wake up, people. So there was my first letter to the editor. Now my second, do they have dates on here? No dates. So I wrote my second one after Eli Hernandez, the local leader of the local chapter of the NAACP, and a bunch of other people decided to, jump on the cancel legislator Dennison train because I was such a racist. And Mr. Hernandez, kept saying over and over again, which you'll hear in this next letter, about how I called Cayuga County residents idiots. Did you anywheres in that letter hear me say the words Cayuga County, which is the county I live in? No, but, when you want to fire people up, you twist shit, when you want to. Canceling's an important thing in this country. So let me read the second one, and then we'll get down to some brass tacks. So the Citizen, which they did, the Citizen wrote an editorial about the importance of free speech and the First Amendment right we should all enjoy. But where was mine last month? Yes, I wrote this one a month later after they trashed me, and I'll explain all that. They also talked about people being falsely accused and maliciously attacked and the need for libel and slander laws. So should I sue the Citizen, otherwise known as the Shitticen to a lot of us, or the local rag, because that's what they are? Should I sue the Citizen for libel and slander for saying Dennison's racist letter, which was the headline of one of their articles? Is that a factual statement or their left-leaning biased opinion? And should I sue Eli Hernandez for calling me a racist and lying, saying I called Cayuga County residents idiots? Because nowhere in my letter were the words Cayuga County. And should I sue Gwen Weber McLeod? I'll get to this. For standing in front of the legislature meeting and calling me a racist, saying I enjoy my racism and white privilege, and I've been racist at meetings? If so, where have my fellow legislators been, or anyone at the meetings, including the Citizen reporter, to call me out on my racism? Never have. They can't, because it's all a lie. If the left doesn't like what you say, you have no constitutional rights. In July of 2019, which is where some of this started, the Democrats on our county legislature pushed a diversity resolution. I stated that civil service and HR were doing their jobs, finding the best qualified candidates no matter what color or gender they were. So Weber McLeod thinks that's racist. Democrat legislators which is some of my fellow legislators here, Tricia Kern, Heidi Nightingale, and Keith Batman, who thankfully got voted out, condemn me, but there's a person who comes to some of our meetings and sits for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I and others thinks that's disrespectful. This person is a woman, progressive liberal. Oh, disrespectful to our flag, our country, and the men and women of all colors that fought for it. But Legislator Batman reminded me that was her constitutional right. But apparently I don't have the right to write a letter to the opinion page. Imagine that, the left's cancel culture. And when Eli Hernandez and Ian Phillips is another progressive liberal who was the head of the Democratic committee in this county at the time, and are both elected school board members, can write a letter against me and say they were not writing it as school board members, but as private citizens, then I guess, last paragraph, my letters are as a private citizen too, right? Meanwhile, our country is still in chaos and innocent people are being killed, including many young black children. And where are all of you that condemn me for speaking up for these children's lives mattering? I think God would say all lives matter. So, let's talk about it now. I'm going to sit down. I needed to stand there for the light because my eyes ain't that good anymore, and that was small print. I'm also going to smoke one of my cigars, so I can't remember the name of the hater that keeps telling me I'm going to die because I smoke my cigars. Whatever. This country keeps staying the way it is. Who wants to be here? First off, I think it was like 14 people that came into our legislature meeting, June of 2020, to speak up against me. All progressive liberals, of course. And let's not forget, June of 2020 was right in the middle of the pandemic. So places were shut down. People were not supposed to come into our meeting in plain English. But our chairwoman at the time, who was a Democrat, allowed that to happen. Imagine that. So they came in, and spent an hour and a half or whatever talking about what a horrible racist I am. And yes, I am who I am. You all know that. Could I have worded some things differently? Yes. Was I wrong with what I said? Was I racist saying what I said? Were they liars saying what they said? Nowhere's in there is the words Cayuga County. All of our meetings have minutes that can be looked up. So go find my racist statements over the last, at that time it would have been 5 years, 6 years, whatever. YouTube, Cayuga County Legislature, Cayuga. We have a YouTube channel. Not many people watch it. That was probably one of the biggest videos that got watched, of course, because of the shit show. So feel free to go watch Cayuga County Legislature YouTube, June of 2020. And you can see the video where they all came in and trashed me for, my horrible racist statements that I made. You can see where they lie and say that I've been racist since I've been on, but nobody can find any of those statements. I mean, and a lot of you know this because you've been through civil service tests for jobs, especially like municipality, county jobs. A large portion are civil service required. You have to take the test. If we have 20 people take a test for civil service test for a job, let's say 10 of them pass. Okay, so now we start with number one, the highest ranked person. We do a background check. If they pass, great. Then we see if they want the job and terms can be met and all that stuff. If not, we move on to number two. If that doesn't work, you move on to number 3. If you end up at number 10, so be it. But if number 8 is a black woman, you don't move number 8 to number 1 just because you want to push this whole equality thing. My county is 95% white. There's like 75,000 people in this county. It's like 3% black and the other 2% are everything else, Asian, Latino, whatever. So if you have 700 employees in your county, should 350 of them be minorities? Because that's your view of equality? So that's where I become a racist and I have to be canceled? Because no, I'm not a racist. I'm a fucking realist. When 95% is white, and this probably will get me in shit, and I don't fucking care anymore. I really don't. Because I know the left in this county monitors all my social media. The funny part was, yes, I got the letter from the person who didn't have balls enough to sign it. But I also got hundreds, and if you think I'm exaggerating, ask my wife. Calls, texts, emails. I even had people write me letters other than this joke of one, or joke of two, actually. You know, and I answer my phone. I don't care. During that point in time, my phone would ring. It would be an Auburn number, which is the city, you know, our one big city, if you want to call it that, where our county office building is and all that. I'd answer the phone, and the surprising part was 50% of the people were women that contacted me. And a large majority of them, they would start the conversation going, yes, this is so-and-so. I live in Auburn, and I want to tell you I'm a registered Democrat. And I'm thinking, all right, I'm in for an ass chewing. Go ahead. I'll take it. Let's have a debate. Like Jimmy and I always say on our live streams. Let's have a debate. And then the next breath they'll say, I just want you to know what they did to you, trying to cancel you and take away your free speech was completely wrong. Whether I like what you said or not, you had the right to say it. A lot of people said that. I had some that said they didn't agree with the way I said it. I could have been more toned down maybe, but I still had the right to say it. And I had the majority of people, including a lot of these Democrats, tell me they agreed with me because they saw what was happening to our country. So here's my question. Why did it stop? Why did the BLM and Antifa riots all stop? Why was it just the summer of love, the summer of peaceful protesting in 2020? Maybe because it was an election year? Is our country so much better off today? Are we not the most systemic racist country in the world like the Democrats make us out to be? I'm just asking, why did it stop? You know, you had Kamala Harris out there talking about bailing all these people out and all this shit, you know? Oh, I don't care, folks. More people need to speak up because this is why the left is winning. Okay, we just saw Warnock win again in another razor close race. 2 years in a row now, or 2 times in a row in the past 2 years. He's won a very close runoff. And you ever notice that the last counties to report are the heavily Democratic counties? Yep, at 92%. I was watching it. Herschel Walker was up by 6,000 votes or something. At 94% of the votes coming in, they called it for Warnock. 2% more came in. That was it. They called it for Warnock. Well, the rest of the areas that still need to report are going to be more heavily Democrat. Why does it take them so long to report compared to everyone else? I just don't get it. All across the country. Arizona, didn't that just happen in Arizona? Yeah, it did. I need a drink. Like I said, let them go after me. I don't care. You know, January of this year, Eli Hernandez, the leader of the local NAACP, came in, him and one other person, to give another rousing speech about how terrible I was because the Republicans had taken over in the county, and the new Republican chair for this year made me a chair of a committee again, like I was that year, chair of judicial. And that's where I made my mistake. I resigned as the chair of judicial and public safety that year, but I didn't resign from the legislature because I wouldn't let them push me around like that. I shouldn't have resigned from the chair neither. I should have forced the chairwoman at the time and the rest of the legislature to take me off of it, because that's why I'm not a Republican anymore. That's why I'm an NOP, no official party, because after that I switched. And you want to know why? Because the Republican Party decided to write a letter, you know, condemning me for you know, stirring the pot and during this time of, you know, trying to soothe racism and all this. I mean, I stand by what I said because I know a majority of Americans wanted to say it, but they just don't. And that's the problem in this country. Do you not get that's why the left keeps winning? They're a fucking machine. They're a machine, right? Wake up. They're a machine here in our county. They're a machine across this country. You know, I saw today on TV while I was eating my lunch, before I come out to load these beans, they were showing how the Congressional Medal of Honor or whatever was given to the Capitol police officers' families that died. And of course they still stick, and it's sad that anyone dies. It is. It's really sad that shit happened. It's sad that what happened in the summer of 2020, because there was 25 people that died that summer. Any of their families get anything? But it's sad when the January 6th committee and all these people keep pushing that, you know, 5 people died on January 6th. No, 1 person died, Ashley Babbitt. Any of her family get any kind of medals or anything? Why did we see Capitol Police on film for our own eyes moving the gates that they had up, letting people in, opening doors? Do I agree with what happened January 6th? No, I agree with people going there to peacefully protest. When they started going in, that's where they got stupid. But the one Capitol Police officer died the next day. The autopsy showed natural causes. He died of some sort of aneurysm or something at the base of his neck or base of his skull in his neck, something like that. They have an autopsy that showed that. I mean, it's horrible that the poor man died of that, but he did. 3 other officers died weeks or months later from suicide. Why did they commit suicide? Do we know? Did they leave any letters? But yet they keep claiming they died that day. And people who don't want to do their own research or just people that are too fucking lazy in plain English or too stupid that just want to listen to everything the left says and go along with it, believe that shit. No. How come the Congressional Medal wasn't given to David Dorn's family? Do y'all remember him? Don't remember how old he was. I think he was in his late 60s or early 70s. A black retired police officer who was killed by, I think it was 3 black kids or young adults that were in their 20s. They ended up being on a security camera that shot him because David Dorn was trying to protect a friend of his store, from being looted, and he wound up being murdered trying to do that. He was a retired police officer of many years. Like I said, he was in his late 60s, early 70s, something like that. Does anybody talk about David Dorn? No. Just like they don't talk about all those, the innocent young ones that get killed in Chicago during gang shootings and all that kind of shit in all these other cities. Do you not get they want to divide the country? Divide and conquer. Get people fighting amongst themselves so that they can slip in all the bullshit that they want to slip in. Because our government is fucking useless. And yes, it's not just the left. There's a lot of rhinos out there also. I don't get why people let the government manipulate them like that to divide us. And this whole racism thing, if we are the most systemic racist country in the world, why have 2 million people a year the last 2 years come across our border to get here when probably 99% of them are minorities? Would you go to a country that supposedly treats you so poorly, but yet they're supposedly coming from countries that treat them so poorly? So how can we be the most systemic racist country in the world? Statistics don't bear it out, folks. It's just the bullshit that the left wants to keep pushing to stir this country up, to get people to hate each other, tear down statues. Let's forget the past, apparently. So apparently someday we may end up reliving it because we're not going to learn from it if we tear it down. I mean, we can't change the past, but we can learn from it because whatever happened in the past happened. We can't change our own personal past. It happened. So, but I just, Willie, there you go, Willie. No, I wasn't thrown off of a board because of my racist statements. I'm still on. They threatened to have the governor throw me off because that's the only way it could happen, because I was elected by the people of my district, but that never happened either, Willie. So, but I want to know, did anybody...
I'm sorry.
My phone's talking to me. I want to know, did anybody, hear the words Cayuga County in there? Oh, and the one woman made the statement that I had been made personal racist remarks to her or towards her or something. I didn't even know who the fuck this woman was until she came into that meeting. So, but you want to know why the right keeps losing in this country? Yeah, well, it's because they don't have balls enough to stand up to the left's bullshit. And that's what happened here in my county, which is why I left the Republican Party, Barb and I both, and switched to no official party, NOP. And that's why I encourage every young person, register as NOP. Let's do away with the Democrat and Republican Party completely. Let's have everybody register as NOP or independent and screw the other parties, because when we get to be the majority parties, that will do away with the other parties. But so I'm sure when the left in this county, sees this, because they gotta keep their eye on me to make sure I'm not saying anything bad. We'll go through the whole racist thing again, but that's fine. I encourage y'all to go back to June of 2020, Cayuga County Legislature, to that legislature meeting that night. Oh, it'll be a fairly long one, so that'll be how you'll tell that it's the right one. And the camera is always just like focused to one spot, so you're going to hear all of the bullshit that people wanted to spew about how, I was the one who was inciting racism and all this. Yep. No, I'm the one who was pointing out facts that, like I said, Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton and all them, they want to talk a big game about, how black people are hunted down by white cops and all this kind of shit. But they don't want to talk about all the young black kids and whatnot that are killed every day in these freaking cities. Chuck Schumer wants to put out his statistic about, are you listening, my fellow Republicans, or my fellow senators who are Republicans, that the number one cause of death for children in this country is gun deaths. But they go to the age of 19. Really? Why don't you go to about the age of 13? And then you'll see, yes, there are some gun deaths, and they're usually accidents. But when you start talking about 14, 15, 17, 19-year-olds, what's the average age of these fucking kids in these gangs? Oh, so we're going to take gang shootings and lump them in to make the numbers look good for gun violence deaths. Wake up, people. This is why you need to look your own statistics up. You need to, my numbers I looked up off the FBI website. Our local NAACP guy there, Eli Hernandez, well, my numbers were wrong. He gave numbers that were like one different between black and white. Okay, some people are going to say, well, blacks are only 12 to 13% of the population. So if 9 blacks were killed by cops and 12 or 13, whatever whites were, that's, when you figure it out by population, yeah, it doesn't sound right. But again, and call me a racist if you want, look at the statistics of who's committing the crimes and in jail. Am I making black people out to be horrible people? No. I'm friends with some. I was friends with one who, unfortunately, here a few years ago, passed away at the age of like 51 or 52, whatever he was. I went to freaking high school, played football with him. But you can't deny what statistics are. So how about we fix those problems that we have in society to make life better for people than to blame other people for, oh, your life's horrible because it's this race's fault, and their life is great because the race and gender thing in this country's just got to stop. I mean, everything today the left is pushing is race and gender. Last time I checked, there's one race called the human race, and there's 2 genders, female and male, which is how people procreate and make more. The chairwoman at the time who I mentioned was a Democrat and let all these people in, her and I, in a private phone conversation between the two of us, she even said to me on the phone that, you know, I've never heard you make any racist statements in meetings and all that. Did she come out in public and say that? No. No. She just went along with it all, you know, and allowed them all to be there and whatnot. So, like I said, it's why the left is winning in this country, folks. It's sad. It really is. Oh, and one more thing, too. Now that Trump has been reinstated to Twitter, but doesn't seem to be using it very much, his last few tweets, I guess they're called, came out before he was banned from it, and shows that he said peacefully protest, shows that he said to respect law enforcement. Yeah, do you remember seeing the things about the that one guy there, that one big tall white guy that was in the crowd? Come on, we need to go in there, we need to get in the building and all that. And some of the people started chanting FBI, FBI, because you could tell the guy was an FBI agent, or at least they thought he was. How come that guy never got, I mean, they have him on tape, they have him on film, they see him. The FBI has traveled all around this country, beating people's doors down to, you know, arrest them for January 6th. Did anybody find that guy? No. Strange. And then when the FBI director was asked about it from Congress, well, we can't talk about that. We can't, you know, they can't talk about whether FBI agents infiltrated the people and were coaxing them on to go into the Capitol. But that one guy has never been seen, never been questioned by the January 6th committee. Imagine that. It is what it is, folks. I just hope people wake up. But, so, I'm sure this will cause a shitstorm, but hey, it is what it is. We'll see you in the next one.